got lineup of amazing speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time to invite another power leader. So moving from leadership and purpose, this is a time to talk about agility. And our guest speaker, Andleep Aslam, she's the Deputy Director, Communications and Sustainability at Zong, having 16 years in the telecom sector, working all big 4 telcos, launched a lot of products and brands, Gurj, Quantica, I can't name all of them. But today she's with us, Andleep, who's a leader who understands the power of owning every aspect of our life. Today she will share her insights on how we can harness mental agility to thrive in all dimensions of our lives. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Andleep. Andleep, please join us. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. I don't think I live up to that yet, but hopefully someday I'll be a bigger leader than I am today, and I will be sitting with a lot of other bigger leaders in this world too. So, can somebody please pull up the presentation? Thank you. So I have been invited here today to talk about mental agility, imposter syndrome, and the voices in our heads. As females, we live in this society, and we are accustomed to certain ways and certain situations. Before I begin talking about the session, before I begin talking about the topics that I've been given to talk about, let's have a little bit of an activity. I see a writing pad in front of all of you and a pen. I want you all, this is not going to be read by anyone, so you can keep it to yourself and you can be as honest as you want to be. In front of you, there's a pad. Please write down your strengths and your weaknesses, as many as they come to mind, and I will give you 2 minutes for that. You can be as honest as you want to be because nobody is going to ask you to read them. I know it's a difficult question. Usually we are asked this in interviews, what are your weaknesses? And we have a very prepared answer for that. I don't want that answer today. For your books, you should be as honest as you can be. There's no shame in admitting that we have weaknesses, and there's no harm in boasting about our strengths. Please do let me know when you're done. I hope you are all done. So the purpose of this activity was to actually look into ourselves and think about ourselves. how we perceive our own selves. What do we think are our strengths and what do we think are our weaknesses? With a raise of hands, please tell me, how easy was it for you to come up with your weaknesses? I see 3 hands. Was it easier to come up with your weaknesses than it was for your strengths? More hands, thank you. The purpose of doing this exercise was to let you know that the reason why we think like this is because we have been criticized our entire lives. Right from the very beginning, we have been told that there is a certain role we are born to play, and we have to remain in that particular role. When we break our bonds and when we do enter the workforce, what happens is that जब हम जाकर कहीं पर बैठते हैं तो हमें एक box मिलता है, which is basically a boundary, because we do not see enough females in the leadership, we do not see enough voices of females in the boardrooms, and that is exactly why we think that we are not important enough, and we just keep on criticizing ourselves, and we just keep on thinking about our weaknesses instead of our strengths. I'll tell you a little story. When I was a little girl, we used to go to our nanny's house to spend the summer vacations. It was a big house. There were stairs and there was a courtyard. So when everybody used to go to sleep during the long summer noons, I used to go outside, spread out a few chairs, put some papers on them, some on the staircase as well, and I used to practice speaking. And I used to act as though I am teaching them something that they do not know about. Fast forward to many years later, I had to present in a boardroom where we had decided on what brands should we be launching for the new product lines that we are coming up with. This was a boardroom where we had to come and present to not just our own CXOs, but also our board members and our group members. In that room, before we entered that room, the only thought in my head was that, will I be able to speak as fluently as I used to speak in front of those empty chairs as a child? And then something clicked inside me. I have a strength. Based on what my knowledge and my abilities are, I also have the strength of storytelling. This is something I have been doing ever since I was a little girl. So I brought that girl out of myself, and I decided that when I walk into that boardroom, I'm not going to talk about all the features of the product, all the very detailed rationales for the brand, the logos, the names that we have come up with, but I'm going to tell them a story of how this brand was built. When we came out of that room, we had gotten approval for 3 new brand launches. And that is where I played on my strength. I hope you learned something from that. So what exactly is imposter syndrome? The American Psychology Association cites that 82% of professionals go through it, and KPMG's study presents that 75% women go through it. This is a phenomena that is experienced by 75% of female executives. So what exactly is it? Imposter syndrome is basically something that occurs in high-achieving individuals, and this is a self-doubt which basically makes us believe less in our skills and our abilities and focuses more on the luck that we have. We continue to think that we are not here because we have worked hard or we have the skills and abilities to prove, to show for the work that we have done. On the contrary, we think that we are lucky to be in a place. Discounting your hard work, not accepting who you are, and literally not being as confident as we should be in our abilities is what imposter syndrome is all about. How many of you have felt that way? Very few. That's good to know. We'll find out in a little while. There are a few types of imposter syndrome. Now, they're all right over there for you to actually go through, and you can pick whichever one you are actually suffering from. If you're not suffering from one, that's a very good thing as well. But imposter syndrome, rightly so, is actually a syndrome which is hurting our professional growth. This is something that hampers our career growth, our goals, and it makes us go back into a box where we can't get out of. So if you have the skills, if you have the abilities, and if you have a goal in your life, you have to make sure that you're getting out of these types of syndromes. If you feel like a perfectionist, if you feel like you must always be flawless to be able to not be a fraud, to be able to put yourself out there as a legitimate person, as a legitimate professional, don't do that. Perfection is not everything. I graduated as a graphics designer and an MPT designer, and my thesis project was a video. And when I was editing that video, there's something that my director told me. He said, don't fall in love with your shots. I had done amazing B-roll photography and videography, and I had these amazing shots, but they did not fit into the part of my story. So he sat me down one day and he told me, don't fall in love with your perfect shots. If it doesn't make sense to you, if it doesn't tell the story that you're trying to tell, don't put it in it. And that is exactly what I'm here to tell you. If you feel like everything you're doing has to be perfect, it doesn't. You have to get it out of the door and then keep on working on it so as not to become stagnated. There are other types, but my favorite one actually is the superhero, because women are actually told that they are superheroes every Women's Day. Are we not? We are told that we are superheroes because we are juggling work, life, our houses, our husbands, our children, everything related to the household, as well as everything related to our work lives. And that is something that exhausts us. So while it's very nice to hear that you're a superhero, at the end of the day, being a superhero is actually exhausting us. Being a natural genius at everything, having all the answers, having the expert at every single thing is actually exhausting us. It is taking away our mental capability, our mental agility, and it is making us make mistakes. And it is making us be less confident, right? The murky middle is also a very interesting kind. This is also something we feel a lot. A lot of people over here in Romana's talk mentioned that they feel like that caregiving is holding them back from being financially independent and investing in things, right? Murky middle is a type of syndrome which basically makes you feel like you are not doing enough. Your purpose in life is to do something else, and your purpose at work is something completely different. If you feel like the purpose of your work and your home life is not aligning, you will feel like an imposter. At every turn, you'll feel like, what am I doing with my life? Should I leave my job and stay at home? Should I just continue to work because I have to prove myself? Or should I just leave everything to the hands of my male counterparts in the organization and in the household? This is a very different, this is a very, how should I put it, very, really, really bad kind of a syndrome. If you can't align your purpose of life with your purpose of work, this will create a very bad imbalance in your lives. So how many people over here have questioned when they entered into a room in the office, do I belong in this room? Do you guys question yourselves when you're walking into a boardroom and it's filled with all the male employees, and it's basically decisions are being made? However, you have been invited, you are now at the table, even if you are a leader and you are sitting over there participating in making those decisions. Do you question yourself? Do you belong? There are 3 reasons why we question ourselves. A, we don't think we are competent enough. We don't think we have the skills and the abilities to actually complete the job. B, by the way, when I say we, I mean the people who have imposter syndrome, not everybody else as well. B, we think that we are not capable enough. Even if we have been given an opportunity, even if you have been hired as a leader in an organization, you still feel like you're not capable enough, you don't have the potential to grow here, or you feel like maybe it's luck that I am over here, maybe I will not be able to do the job that I've been hired for. And then, lastly, you lose your confidence. When you lose your confidence, you lose your voice. When you lose your voice, you lose growth in turn. If you could please scan this QR code, there's a very small quiz. It's about 20 questions, and it will actually help you realize if you have imposter syndrome or not. We'll take a 5-minute break for all of you to fill it out. Please scan the QR code. And if anybody is having any issues, please let me know. So the way the score of this quiz is going to be calculated is that if you rank a question as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you have to add that number up with the second question's number. So you have to score all of your answers. If you are above 40, you are safe. If you are if you are above 40, you have a chance of being an imposter. If you are below 40, then you are probably safe. Should we wait for this quiz or should we go on? Wait? Okay. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to let you guys complete this and we can review the results at the end of the session. If your scores are greater than 40 and you feel like an imposter at your workplace, these are the reasons probably why you are doing so. The first thing is, as I mentioned earlier, when you walk into an office and you see it as a male-dominated vicinity, although अब के ज़माने में इतनी सारी ख़वातीन workforce के अंदर आ चुकी हुई हैं कि unfortunately, fortunately, not unfortunately, इतना gap रहा नहीं है बहुत सारी जगहों के ऊपर. Still, there's a lot of gap and there's a lot of stuff that we have to do. There's a lot of abilities that we have to build upon. However, we still find some role models in the office who are females, and they can help us and they can make us feel like we also have a seat at the table, or we also have the opportunity to grow, and we also have the opportunity to polish our potentials. But if you are in a situation where you don't find a role model, it's difficult for you not to feel like an imposter because you can't actually see where you will grow and where you will go. Mostly organizations के अंदर जो roles ख़वातीन को दिए जाते हैं वो different बहुत financial roles या technical roles या इस तरह के roles नहीं दिए जाते हैं. बहुत सारे roles जो हैं वो आपके marketing के, branding के, communications के और इन चीज़ों के roles रह जाते हैं because naturally women are good at these roles. So I'd like to actually, I still have to actually see a female role model who is a chief technology officer or a chief financial officer who has been making strides or who is a businesswoman who has been making strides in the industry. The next is discrimination and stereotypes. This is very common. Women get emotional is something that we have all heard. It's difficult to talk to a woman. It is easier to talk to a man. It is also something that we have heard. If this is the kind of discrimination that exists in your workplace, that has tend to have an impact and that has tend to make you a little bit insecure about your own abilities. Unsupportive managers, this is something really important. And if you are in that in that position, if you are a manager, please do listen to this. Having an unsupportive manager who is clearly differentiating between the male employees and the female employees is very, very difficult to deal with. If you have an unsupportive manager, if they are not working on your growth, if they are not working on your elevation, that also happens to become something that ends up making you have an imposter syndrome. So we have another activity. I want you to think about the most negative thing that you think about yourself and write it down on a piece of paper. You can be as honest as you want to be, because we're not asking anybody to come here and read it. We're not displaying it. I know this is a kind of vulnerability that we would not like to show everyone. But I'd like you to be your worst critique today for a moment and think about the one nagging negative thought that is recurring in your head that you have been told over and over again, and that basically bothers you and makes you feel inadequate, makes you feel like you can't perform your job. Please raise your hands once you're done. Are we done? Are we done? Please a little bit louder. I feel like I'm talking to a dead room. You're done. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is imagine somebody you love, somebody who you hold dear to your heart, either in your family or in your office, comes to you and shares that with you, shares that negative thought about themselves with you. How would you encourage them not to think like that? It is very important to be kind to ourselves. We have had to work twice as hard and twice as much as our counterparts to prove our places in the office. Most of the women I know who have reached to the top complain about exhaustion and hard work and too much work to be able to prove themselves as worthy as their male counterparts. However, we forget to be kind to ourselves. We forget to think about how many things we have done and how many achievements, how many accolades we have collected, and we do not forgive ourselves for even the smallest of mistakes we have made in the world, in the boardrooms, in the meetings, anywhere in front of our colleagues. So I want you to be very kind to yourself when you do this second part of the critique, and basically be very, very forgiving for the mistakes that you have made, for your feedback. So, while we are talking about imposter syndrome, we should also talk about how we are able to eradicate it from our minds. Mental agility is something that we call adaptation. Which situation you are in, आप जहाँ भी जाते हैं, आप जिस भी situation में जाते हैं, you should be able to adapt. Any kind of change that you're facing, any kind of unexpected moving targets you're facing, anything for that matter that is not really aligning with what you're used to, with what your comfort zone is, it's basically making you react a different way. Mental agility teaches us to react calmly, assess the situation, be very, very careful about who is in the room, who might, what kind of work you're doing, be very, very present about your own abilities, and react in the most kind, professional, and calm way. This is what mental agility basically is. What does it help us do? It helps us solve problems creatively. So if you're in a situation, if you're in a workplace which is very, very conducive, which is very, very happening, which is welcoming all the creative ideas, is focusing on innovation, is very, very kind towards mistakes, and all of a sudden you are put in a position where there is a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, your creative liberty has been shut down, you are told to do exactly what the elders or what the superiors are telling you to do. You tend to get frustrated in that situation. Mental agility helps you find creative solutions to still get your job done, not get frustrated, not get overworked and exhausted. So there are 6 golden rules that I live by, and I'm going to share them with you today. The first one is overrule the negative thoughts. If you have made a mistake, if you said something and some reaction made you feel smaller than you are, re-evaluate that situation. Re-evaluate the people who are standing in that room. Re-evaluate, maybe somebody, re-evaluate the situation in that room, the people who were talking about you, the feedback that you were receiving, and understand, don't take it personally, understand why this could have happened, and then take a other spin, take a 180-degree other spin on the negative thoughts and think about everything positively. Think about what could have been an opportunity in that particular situation. The second rule is venture out of your comfort zone often. One thing that I always say is that competence and incompetence is agnostic of gender. If you're a female, you could be incompetent. If you're a female, you could be competent as well. So you have to continuously work on yourself. You have to continuously learn. You have to continuously work on yourself. आज के ज़माने में जितनी advancements technology के अंदर हो रही हैं, जितनी भी चीज़ें आ रही हैं, we have to continuously work on ourselves. AI, data analytics, and all of those things. We have to continuously understand and sort of develop a habit of learning, a pattern of learning, and put ourselves in challenging situations where we can have more learnings and be able to react in a calm manner. The third rule that I live by is celebrate your wins. Even if it is a small celebration, even if it is a very little thing that you have achieved, you should celebrate it. You should find people who are similar, like-minded, who have similar achievements, and celebrate those wins. Even if you think that you are not doing as good as anybody else, trust me when I say this, somebody is looking up to you and somebody wants to be in the position that you are in. The fourth part is find your village. This village does not necessarily have to be of all women. This village does not necessarily have to be of all men. But you have to find the people who are celebrating with you, who are encouraging you to reach for higher goals, who are encouraging you to build your confidence and stand out in situations. Sorry, because of short time, I'm just flipping through these. And learn to not take things personally. This is something it's a very difficult lesson to learn, but it is very important. Sometimes when people say something, a lot of things going on in their minds. So if you think that you passed by someone and you say Assalamu alaikum and they did not respond back to you, make sure that you're not taking that personally. And apply the 5 reason theory, which is come up with 5 reasons as to why that person reacted in that particular way. So as not to put the insecurity inside you, but basically take it out and understand that the other person might have been feeling bad, or maybe something has happened that has made him respond in a certain way. So don't take everything personally, even if the comment was meant for you. Make sure that you are actually thinking about it in a different way. And the last part, this is the last slide, find a mentor. It is very important. Find someone in the organization, outside the organization, in the management, in your peer group, even within your own circles, societal circles. Find a mentor, somebody who you can discuss your vulnerability with, somebody who you can tell everything that you're feeling at workplaces. Everything that you can't talk about in front of everyone else, there should be at least one person that you can discuss, and that person should be able to give you some kind of guidance. This is the most important thing. You should always have mentors. So with that, I end my presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me.